It was 2:47 in the morning when I realized my marriage was dying. Not from infidelity, not from abuse, not from falling out of love, from something far more common, far more silent, far more devastating. Money. I'm Patricia Harris. I'm 34 years old. I live in Oakland, California, and I'm a home health aide. For 12 years, I thought my husband John and I had built something strong, something that could survive anything. But I was wrong. Because that night, sitting at our kitchen table surrounded by unpaid bills, red notices, and final warnings, I watched my husband, the man I'd loved since I was 22, look at me with eyes that held nothing but exhaustion and blame. And in the next room, our 8-year-old daughter Ava was awake, listening, absorbing every word of our whispered fight like poison seeping into her small heart. When she finally spoke, her voice was so soft I almost didn't hear it. She asked the question that broke me. "Mommy, can we still go to the school?" Fare, $5. That's all she wanted. $5 for tickets to ride the Ferris wheel with her friends. And I couldn't answer her. Because we didn't have $5. We didn't have anything. And that's when I knew. If we didn't change something, we were going to lose more than money. We were going to lose each other. Let me take you back 6 months before that night. It was March 15th, 2024, a Thursday. I remember because it was payday, and I'd just gotten my direct deposit notification, 1-847-23s. I stared at that number on my phone screen in the employee break room at Bay Area Home Health Services, and my stomach dropped. It should have been $2,100. I immediately called payroll. "Ms. Harris," the woman said, her voice professionally apologetic, "your hours were reduced this pay period. We've had to cut back shifts across the board. Budget constraints." Budget constraints. 2 words that would haunt me for the next 8 months. "How many hours am I losing?" I asked, my voice tight. "You're down from 40 hours to 32. We're hoping it's temporary." Temporary. 8 hours a week. That's $416 a month. Gone. I sat there in that break room surrounded by the smell of microwaved food and disinfectant, and I calculated in my head. Rent, $150 utilities, $300 car payment, $380 car insurance, $210 groceries, $600 Ava school expenses, $150 phone bill, $120 gas, $200 credit card minimum payments, $340 total, $450. John's unemployment benefits, $119.50. My new reduced income, $3,388. Total income, $5,338. We were barely making it before. Now we have even less margin for error. And I knew, deep in my bones, that John would blame me for not working more, even though I physically couldn't. I was already picking up weekend shifts whenever they were available. I drove home that day with a knot in my stomach, rehearsing how to tell him. John was in the garage when I got home, working on our neighbor's car for $60 under the table. His hands were covered, in grease. His face set in concentration. He'd been a mechanic at Precision Auto in downtown Oakland for 11 years. When they laid him off 4 months ago, something in him broke. Not visible. John wasn't a man who showed his feelings easily, but I saw it in the way he moved, the way he avoided eye contact, the way he threw himself into these side jobs like he was trying to prove something to ghosts. "John," I said softly, standing in the garage doorway. He didn't look up. "Yeah." "We need to talk about money." His jaw tightened. "What about it?" "My hours got cut. I'm losing over $400 a month." The wrench in his hand stopped moving. "How much are we short?" he asked, his voice flat. "With your unemployment, we're okay for now. Barely. But we have no cushions. If anything happens..." "Nothing's going to happen," he cut me off. "John, we need a plan." I said nothing's going to happen. His voice was sharp now. "I'm looking for work. I've got applications out. I'll find something." He went back to the car, dismissing me. I stood there for a moment, feeling the distance between us like a physical wall. This was how it started. Not with a fight. With silence. With the slow, grinding pressure of bills we couldn't pay and pride we couldn't swallow. Ava was sitting at the kitchen table doing her homework when I came inside. My beautiful, sensitive girl. I am 8 years old with braided hair and eyes that saw too much. "How is school, baby?" I asked, kissing the top of her head. "Good. We're having a science fair next month. Can I make a volcano?" "Of course, sweetheart." "We need supplies. Miss Johnson gave us a list." She handed me a crumpled paper. I read it. Baking soda, vinegar, food coloring, poster board, paint. Maybe $35 in total. Before, I would have said yes immediately, would have taken her to Target that weekend and let her pick out whatever she needed. Now I looked at that list and calculated. Can we afford this? What else can we cut? "We'll get it," I told her, forcing a smile. "Don't worry." She looked at me with those two knowing eyes. "Mom, are we poor?" My breath caught. "Why would you ask that, baby?" "Because Sarah at school said her mom said you and Daddy are always fighting about money, and that means you're poor." Shame flooded through me, hot and bitter. Our neighbors had heard us arguing. Through the thin walls of our duplex, they'd heard everything, and now it was playground gossip. "We're not poor," I said carefully. "We're just going through a tight time, but we're okay. You don't need to worry about grown-up things." She nodded, but I saw the worry on her face. She didn't believe me. And why would she? Children can smell fear the way dogs smell storms coming. That night, after I tucked her in, I heard her crying softly into her pillow. I stood outside her door, my hand on the doorknob, paralyzed. Because what could I say? What comfort could I offer when I was barely holding myself together? Late. That night, after John had gone to bed without speaking to me, I sat at the kitchen table with our bills spread out like accusatory witnesses. I've been doing this every night for weeks, rearranging, calculating, trying to find money that didn't exist. The rent was due in 5 days. We had $200 in checking. I could pay rent and have nothing left for groceries, or I could buy groceries and be late on rent. Again. We've been late twice this year. Our landlord, Mr. Chen, had been understanding the first time, annoyed the second. A third time might mean eviction. I looked at John's unemployment statement, $1,350 a month for up to 26 weeks. He'd been getting it for 16 weeks already, 10 weeks left, maybe less if he found work that paid too little to make sense. The car payment was due. If we missed it, they'd repo the car. And without the car, I couldn't get to my clients' homes. It couldn't work at all. The utilities were overdue by $150. One more month and they'd shut off. The power. The credit cards. God, the credit cards. We've been using them to bridge gaps for 3 months. $4,200 in debt now, accumulating interest at 24%. I did the math in my head for the 100th time. Minimum income needed to survive, $4,150. Our actual income, $5,338. Surplus, 1,188Ts. But that surplus vanished instantly into debt payments, medical copays I'd been putting off, school expenses, car repairs, and unexpected costs that appeared like clockwork. We were drowning in slow motion. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was that this wasn't anyone's fault. John hadn't been fired for cause. He'd been laid off because the shop owner retired and his son closed the business. I hadn't chosen to have my hours cut. It was corporate policy. We'd done everything right, worked hard, paid our bills, stayed married, raised our daughter. And still, we were here. At 1 a.m., staring at numbers that refused to add up, I remembered something my grandmother used to say. Being poor ain't a sin, baby, but it sure makes you feel like you committed one. I understood now what she meant. The next morning, I tried to talk to John again. He was making coffee in the kitchen, moving through the motions mechanically. "John, I think we should talk to a credit counselor. Or maybe, no. Just hear me out." I said no, Patricia. He turned to look at me, and the expression on his face made me step back. We're not going to some counselor tell us we're failures. That's not what they do. That's exactly what they do. They sit there and judge you and make you feel like an idiot for not being able to handle your own money. We need help, John. This isn't working. What's not working is that you are constantly panicking. I told you I'm handling it. How? How are you handling it? You've been handling it for 4 months, and we're worse off than when you got laid off. His face hardened. You want to know what I'm doing? I'm applying to every shop in the Bay Area. I'm doing side jobs. I'm trying to keep this family afloat while you act like the sky is falling. The sky is falling, John. We're about to lose everything. We're not losing anything. He grabbed his keys. I've got a job to bid on. I'll be back tonight. He left without kissing me goodbye. I stood there in the kitchen, shaking. This was the new pattern. I'd try to have a real conversation about our finances. He'd shut down. We'd fight. He'd left. And the distance between us grew wider. I understood why he was like this. John had always been our provider. Even when I worked, he made more. He took pride in being able to support his family. When he lost his job, he lost his identity. And now every conversation about money felt like I was reminding him that he'd failed. But we couldn't afford his pride anymore. And I couldn't afford to keep pretending everything was okay. A week later, I made a decision I didn't tell John about. Mrs. Eleanor Martinez lived 3 houses down from us. She was 78, recently widowed, and had mild dementia. Her daughter lived in Sacramento and couldn't care for her full time. I'd been helping Eleanor, occasionally picking up groceries, checking on her, and making sure she took her medications. One afternoon, her daughter Carmen pulled me aside. Patricia, I need to ask you something. My mother needs more regular care. Someone to stay with her in the evenings, make sure she eats dinner, and help her get ready for bed. Could you do it? I can pay you $20 an hour, 4 hours a night, 5 nights a week. I did the math instantly. $400 a week, $2,600 a month. That would cover our shortfall completely. But it meant working 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. 5 nights a week on top of my regular shifts. It meant barely seeing Ava during the week. Meant John would have to handle dinner and bedtime alone. It meant I'd be working 76 hours a week. I'll do it, I said. Carmen looked relieved. Thank you. You're saving us. No, I thought. I'm saving myself. I didn't tell John right away. I knew he'd object, would say I was working too much, would accuse me of not trusting him to fix things. So I just started doing it. I'm picking up extra shifts, I told him vaguely. He nodded, distracted. Good, we need the money. That first week was brutal. I'd work my regular shifts from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., come home to make dinner, then go to Eleanor's house at 7 p.m. and stay until 11 p.m. By the time I got home, John was usually asleep on the couch and Ava was in bed. I'd lie awake, my body aching, my mind racing, wondering how long I could sustain this. But when I deposited that first $400 into our account, the relief was overwhelming. We could pay rent on time, could buy groceries without counting every dollar, could breathe just a little. It was worth it, or so I told myself. 2 weeks into my secret second job, John confronted me. Where are you really going every night? I looked up from folding laundry, startled. What? You said you're picking up shifts at work, but I called the office yesterday to ask about your schedule. They said you're still working regular hours. My stomach dropped. So I'll ask again, he said, his voice dangerously calm. Where are you going? I'm working for the Martinezes, caring for Eleanor in the evenings. His expression shifted from suspicion to anger. You took another job without telling me. We needed the money. We needed you to talk to me, Patricia. Do you know how it feels to find out my wife is working a second job behind my back? I wasn't hiding it from you. Yes, you were. You lied to me. Because I knew you'd react like this. My voice rose to match his. Because every time I try to talk to you about money, you shut down. So your solution is to work yourself to death. My solution is to keep our lights on. We stared at each other, breathing hard. You don't trust me, John said quietly. That's what this is really about. You don't think I can provide for this family. John: No, I get it. I lost my job, so now I'm useless. Now you have to do everything. That's not what I think. Then why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you ask if it was okay before you took on more work? I wanted to scream at him, wanted to shake him and make him see that this wasn't about trust or pride or who was the provider. This was about survival, but I was too tired to fight. I'm sorry, I said, my voice flat. I should have told you. He nodded stiffly. Yeah, you should have. He went to the garage, his escape place, and I went back to folding laundry, my hands moving automatically while tears ran down my face. 2 days after that fight, Ava's teacher called me. Mrs. Harris, I wanted to touch base with you about Ava. My heart sank. Is something wrong? Her grades have dropped significantly in the last month. She's not turning in homework. She seems distracted in class. And yesterday, I found her crying in the bathroom during lunch. I closed my eyes. Did she say what was wrong? She said she was fine, but Mrs. Harris, I've been teaching for 20 years. A child who says she's fine while crying is never fine. That evening, I sat Ava down. Baby, your teacher called me today. She's worried about you. Ava looked down at her hands. I'm okay. Sweetheart, you can talk to me. What's going on? Silence. Ava, please, I need you to tell me what's wrong. Her small voice was barely a whisper. Are you and Daddy going to get divorced? The question hit me like a physical blow. What? No, baby, why would you think that? Because you fight all the time, and Daddy sleeps on the couch, and you're never home anymore. Her voice cracked. Sarah's parents got divorced, and it started just like this. I pulled her into my arms, my own tears falling. We're not getting divorced, I said, praying it was true. Daddy and I are just going through a hard time right now. But we love each other, and we love you more than anything. But you're always tired and sad, and you don't smile anymore. God. She'd noticed everything. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I know things have been hard, but it's going to get better, okay? I promise. She pulled back to look at me. When? Soon, I lied. That night, I told John about the conversation. For the first time in weeks, I saw fear in his eyes. She thinks we're getting divorced? She hears us fighting, John. She feels tension. She's 8 years old and she's carrying all of this stress. He sat down heavily. Jesus, we have to do better, I said. For her. He nodded slowly. You're right. We do. For a moment, I thought maybe this would be the turning point. Maybe Ava's pain would finally make us both face what we'd been avoiding. But then his phone rang. A potential job interview. He took it into the garage. And the moment passed. 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning, I woke up feeling like someone had driven nails through my head. The room spun when I tried to sit up. My throat was on fire. John found me in the bathroom, shaking and pale. Patricia? His voice was worried. What's wrong? I don't know. I feel awful. He pressed his hand to my forehead. You're burning up. When's your shift? An hour. You can't go like this. I have to. Mrs. Chen needs... Patricia. His voice was firm. Look at me. You can barely stand up. You need to see a doctor. We can't afford. I don't care. I'm taking you to urgent care. It turned out to be strep throat. The doctor prescribed antibiotics and told me to rest for at least 3 days. The prescriptions cost $89. The urgent care visit costs $150. And I'd have to miss 3 days of work at both jobs. That's $528 in lost income. Total cost of getting sick, $767. We didn't have $767. John paid with the credit card, the one that was already maxed out. It's fine, he said, seeing my expression. We'll figure it out. But I saw the way his jaw clenched. The way his hands gripped the steering wheel was too hard on the drive home. That night, in my fever-induced haze, I heard him in the kitchen. He was on the phone with his mother in Sacramento. "Mom, I need to ask you something. Can you—" "No, I know you're on a fixed income. We're really tight right now. Just a few hundred to get us through." "I understand. No, it's okay. Thanks anyway." He hung up, sat in silence for a moment. Then I heard him cry. It was the sound of a man breaking, quiet, desperate, utterly defeated. I wanted to go to him, but I couldn't move. So I lay there in the dark, listening to my husband shatter. When I recovered and went back to work, I noticed something was off. John was getting mail that he immediately threw away. His phone would ring and he'd silence it without looking. One morning, I found a crumpled letter in the trash. It was from a payday loan company. My blood ran cold. "John!" I shouted. "John, get in here!" He came from the bedroom, still in his work clothes from the night before. "What is this?" I held up the letter. His face went pale. "Patricia, when did you take out a payday loan? 2 months ago, we needed—" "2 months? You've been hiding this for 2 months? I was going to tell you, when is John? When were you going to tell me we owe almost $2,000 to a loan shark? It's not a loan shark. It's a legitimate. They're charging you 400% interest. Look at this." I jabbed my finger at the letter. "You borrowed $800, and now you owe $1,147. That's insane. I know it was stupid, okay? But we needed money for the car insurance, and I didn't know what else to do." We stood there, both of us breathing hard. "We can't keep doing this," I said quietly. "We can't keep making desperate decisions and hiding things from each other." "So, what do you want me to do, Patricia? Huh? You want me to just give up? Stop trying? I want you to be honest with me. I want you to stop making financial decisions behind my back. Like you did when you took that second job." The hypocrisy hung between us like smoke. "That's different," I said, but my voice was weak. "Is it?" We were both guilty. Both are desperate. Both drowning. And we were taking turns pushing each other's heads underwater. The next day at work, my coworker Jasmine pulled me aside. "Girl, I hate to see you struggling like this." "I'm fine," I said automatically. "No, you're not. You look exhausted, you're losing weight, and I heard about your money troubles." I stiffened. "From whom?" "Doesn't matter. Look, I want to help you. I know a way you can make serious money, fast." My stomach tightened. "What kind of way?" She lowered her voice. "Have you heard of multi-level marketing? My cousin does it. She makes $5,000 a month selling essential oils. All you have to do is buy a starter kit and recruit people." "Jasmine, that's a pyramid scheme." "No, it's not. It's a legitimate business opportunity. You just have to be willing to invest in yourself." "How much is the starter kit?" "Only $500, and you make that back in the first month, guaranteed." I shook my head. "I don't have $500. "You can put it on a credit card." "No. Patricia, think about it. You're working 2 jobs and still broke. This could change everything. It could also make things worse. Or it could save you." I thought about it. I won't pretend I didn't. $5,000 a month would solve everything, would let me quit the second job, would give us breathing room. But I'd seen these schemes before, seen people get sucked in, lose money, ruin friendships by trying to recruit everyone they knew. "I appreciate you thinking of me," I told Jasmine, "but no thank you." She shrugged. "Your loss." Later that night, John came home with his own temptation. "I met a guy today," he said. "He runs a cash-for-car titles business. He said he could give us $3,000 for the title to our car. What's the catch? We have to pay him back $4,500 in 6 months. I stared at him. That's 50% interest. But we'd have $3,000 right now. And if we can't pay him back, he will take our car. And then I can't work. And we're even more screwed. I know it's not ideal. It's not just ideal, John. It's financial suicide. So what's your solution? We just keep drowning? I wanted to scream, wanted to shake him and make him see that there was no magic solution, no shortcut out of this. But I was so tired of fighting. "No," I said quietly. "We don't do it. We find another way." "What else, Patricia? What other goddamn way is there?" I didn't have an answer, and that was the scariest part. It happened on a Friday night. I'd just come home from Eleanor's house. It was 11:30 p.m. I was exhausted, my feet aching, my head pounding. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. John was at the table surrounded by papers, bills, statements, notices. "John? What are you doing up?" He didn't look at me. "I've been trying to figure it out." "Figure what out?" "How we survive. I've been sitting here for 3 hours doing the math over and over, and I can't make it work, Patricia. I can't make any of this work." I sat down across from him. "John, we're $6,000 in debt between the credit cards and that stupid payday loan. We're behind on every bill. The car needs new tires we can't afford. Ava needs braces we can't afford. And we're going to get evicted if we miss rent again." His voice was shaking. "I failed," he said. "I failed my family. I can't provide it for you. I can't protect you. I'm useless." "Don't say that. It's true." He slammed his hand on the table. "I'm supposed to be the man of this house, and I can't even keep the lights on. John, this isn't all on you." "Yes, it is. I lost my job. If I still had my job, we'd be fine. But I got lazy and comfortable, and when the shop closed, I had nothing else lined up." "That's not true. You applied everywhere." "Not fast enough, not aggressively enough. I thought someone would hire me right away because I'm good at what I do. But you know what I learned, Patricia? Being good doesn't matter when you're 36 years old with no college degree competing against kids who'll work for half your rate." He put his head in his hands. "I don't know what to do anymore." I reached the table and took his hands. "We do it together," I said. "We stop keeping secrets. We stop making decisions alone. We face this together." He looked up at me, his eyes red. "I'm scared." It was the first time he'd admitted it. "I'm scared too," I said. "But we're still here. We're still fighting. And as long as we're together, we have a chance." For the first time in months, we held each other. Not out of passion, not out of romance, out of pure, desperate survival. And at that moment, something shifted. It wasn't a fix. It wasn't a solution. But it was the beginning of honesty. The next morning, we sat Ava down. "Baby, your dad and I need to talk to you about some grown-up things." She looked worried. "Am I in trouble?" "No, sweetheart. But we need to be honest with you. Our family is going through a hard time right now. We don't have as much money as we used to. And that's why Mommy's been working extra and why Daddy and I have been stressed." "I know," she said quietly. "I heard you fighting." John and I exchanged a look. "We're sorry you had to hear that," John said. "But we want you to know something important. Even though money is tight, we love each other. And we love you. And we're going to get through this together as a family." "Does that mean we can't go to Disney World anymore?" My heart broke a little. We'd promised her a trip for her 9th birthday next year. "Maybe not right away," I said gently, "but someday, when things get better." She nodded, trying to be brave. "That's okay. Disney World isn't as important as having electricity. I am 8 years old and already carrying the weight of adult worries." "You don't have to worry about that," I told her. "That's our job. Your job is to be a kid, okay? Okay?" After she went to her room, John and I sat at the table. "We need a real plan," I said. "Not wishful thinking, not hoping something will work out. A real, written down, step-by-step plan." "Agreed." I got a notebook and we started writing. Our reality: total household income, $5,338 month. Essential expenses, $4,150 month. Debt payments, $425 month. Remaining, $763 month for everything else. Our debts: credit cards, $4,200. Payday loan, 1 through 8, $47.50. Total $647.50 is our goals. 1, stop accumulating new. 2, pay off debt systematically. 3, build emergency fund. 4, stabilize income. 5, protect ourselves from future crises. It looked overwhelming written down, but at least it was honest. Monday morning, I called a nonprofit credit counseling service I'd researched. "Hello, my name is Patricia Harris. I need help with debt management." The counselor, a woman named Linda, was kind but direct. "Tell me about your situation." I explained everything. The job loss, the reduced hours, the credit cards, the payday loan, all of it. "Okay," she said when I finished. "First, let's talk about that payday loan. They're predatory and they're trapping you in a debt cycle. Here's what you need to do." She walked me through negotiating with the payday lender, setting up a payment plan that would get us out from under their thumb. Then she helped me prioritize our debts. "You pay your essential expenses first," she said. "Rent, utilities, food, transportation. Everything else comes after. Credit cards can wait. They'll threaten you, but they can't take your home or turn off your heat. But won't that ruin our credit? Your credit is already damaged. Right now, we're focused on keeping you housed and fed. Credit scores can be rebuilt. Homelessness is much harder to recover from." It was hard to hear, but it was true. She also connected me with food banks and community resources we qualified for. "There's no shame in accepting help," she said. "These programs exist for exactly this situation. You're not taking advantage. You're using safety nets that your tax dollars have been paying into for years." When I got off the phone, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not false hope. Not desperate hope. Real, grounded hope, based on actual numbers and actual plans. That night, John and I created the most detailed budget of our lives. We tracked every single dollar. Monthly income, $5,338. Fixed expenses. Rent, $1,800. Car payment, $380. Car insurance, $200. Phone, $20. Car gas, $200. Total, $2,760. Variable expenses, utilities, $300. Meat groceries, $400. Cut from $600. Ava school, $100 reduced. Total, $800. Debt payments, payday loan, $200. Negotiated payment plan. Credit card minimums, $180. Total, $380 remaining. $1,398. We had $1,398 a month for everything else. Clothes, medical needs, car repairs, savings. It wasn't much, but it was something. We made rules. 1, no new debt. Ever. 2, every expense requires discussion between both of us. 3, we plan to eat every Sunday and stick to the grocery list. 4, we use food banks twice a month to stretch grocery money. 5, any extra income goes straight to the debt or the emergency fund. 6, we track every penny in a shared spreadsheet. The first week was brutal. I wanted to buy Ava a book she saw at the store, 12 Aldenscheers, but $12 wasn't in the budget. "We'll get it from the library, baby," I told her. She nodded without complaint, but I saw the disappointment in her eyes. John wanted to buy coffee on his way to a job interview, $4, but $4 wasn't in the budget. He made coffee at home instead. Every little denial felt like a wound, but slowly we started seeing progress. The payday loan balance went down. The credit card balance stopped growing. We actually had $200 left at the end of the month. It wasn't much, but it was ours, and we didn't spend it. We saved it. One evening, I was talking to Carmen Martinez about Eleanor's care. "Patricia, I want to thank you for everything you do for my mother. You've been a godsend." "It's my pleasure. She's a sweet lady." "Can I ask you something personal? Do you have health insurance?" I hesitated. "Not good coverage. My job offers a basic plan, but it's expensive. I've been putting off signing up." Carmen's face grew serious. "Patricia, you can't do that. What if something happens? What if you get seriously ill?" "I know, but..." My mother didn't have good insurance. When she had her stroke 2 years ago, the medical bills almost bankrupted our family, $87,000 in expenses. We had to sell her house to pay it off. If she'd had better coverage, we could have protected her assets. She pulled out her phone and showed me an article. "Look at this. 41% of American adults have medical debt. It's the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country. You're working yourself to exhaustion, but if you end up in the hospital without coverage, you'll lose everything anyway. Her words hit me like ice water. That night, I researched health insurance options. Really researched them, not just glanced at the cost and panicked. I found a plan through Covered California, $240 a month for family coverage. It would stretch our budget, but it was manageable. More importantly, it protected us from catastrophic loss. I also started learning about other protections, life insurance. If something happened to me, John and Ava would get a payout. It could cover the mortgage, living expenses, Ava's education. A term policy for $250,000 costs $35 a month. Disability insurance. If I got injured and couldn't work, it would replace 60% of my income. $80 a month. These weren't luxuries. They were necessities. Because I'd learned the hard way. One unprotected crisis can destroy years of stability. I talked to John about it. It's going to add $355 to our monthly expenses, I told him. But if we don't have it and something happens, do it, he said immediately. We'll cut somewhere else. This is too important. We cut our phone bill by switching carriers, saved $40. We canceled streaming services we barely used, saved $35. We started doing our own car maintenance instead of paying for oil changes, saved $60. We meal prepped on Sundays and stopped ordering any takeout, saved $120. Total savings, $255. We found the other $100 by me picking up one extra overnight shift a month. It was tight, so tight. But we had protection now. Real protection. Not against poverty. We couldn't afford that yet, but against devastation. 3 months into our new budget, John came home with news. I got a job. I looked up from chopping vegetables. What? Bay Area Transit. They're hiring mechanics for their bus maintenance facility. Union job, $28 an hour, full benefits. I start Monday. I dropped the knife and threw my arms around him. John, that's amazing. He held me tight. It's not as much as I made before, and it's a different kind of work, but it's stable, and the benefits are incredible. Health, dental, vision, retirement matching. $28 an hour, 40 hours a week. That's $480 a month before taxes. Combined with my income and his unemployment ending, we'd bring in about $7,000 in total. That was $1,660 more than we'd been living on. We could breathe. But John's face was serious. Patricia, I need to say something. What? I'm sorry. For all of this. For not listening to you. For making that stupid payday loan decision. For letting my pride hurt our family. Tears filled my eyes. John. No, let me finish. You've been carrying this family. You took on a second job. You created a budget. You found help. You did everything while I was drowning in shame and trying to pretend I had it under control. You saved us. We saved each other, I said firmly. This wasn't on you alone. I made mistakes, too. I hid things from you. I didn't communicate. We both messed up. But we're fixing it now. Yeah, we are. He kissed me. A real kiss. Not a peck. Not a duty kiss. A kiss that reminded me why I'd married this man 12 years ago. With John's new income, we revised our budget again. We kept our expenses the same. We didn't inflate our lifestyle. Every extra dollar went to 3 places. 1. Debt elimination, 50%. 2. Emergency fund, 30%. 3. Quality of life, 20%. The debt. Elimination was aggressive. We threw $831 extra at our debts every month. The payday loan was gone in 3 months. The credit cards took 8 months, but we got there. The day we made the final credit card payment, John and I celebrated with a $15 bottle of wine and cheap takeout. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like victory. The emergency fund grew slower, $498 a month. After 6 months, we had $2,988 saved. After a year, we had $5,976. It sat in a high-yield savings account, earning a tiny bit of interest. We didn't touch it, because we'd learned Emergencies will come. They always do. And we needed to be ready. That quality of life money, $330 a month, went to things we'd been denying ourselves. A family dinner out once a month, Ava's science fair supplies, a new pair of work shoes for me when I wore out. Small things, normal things, things that reminded us we were human, not just survival machines. One Saturday, John and I sat down with a financial advisor, free consultation, through our credit union. "We want to protect our family," I told her, "from the kind of crisis we just went through." She nodded. "Tell me what you've got so far." We explained our health insurance, life insurance, and disability coverage. "That's a great start," she said, "but let's talk about other risks." She showed us things we hadn't considered. Critical illness insurance, a policy that pays a lump sum if diagnosed with cancer, heart attack, or stroke. We could use it for treatment, bills, whatever we needed. $45 a month. Umbrella liability insurance. Protected us if someone got hurt on our property or we caused an accident. $15 a month for $1 million in coverage. Renter's insurance. Covered our belongings if the house burned down or got robbed. $18 a month. We added them all. Yes, it increased our expenses, but it protected us from catastrophe. She also talked to us about inflation. Your life insurance pays $250,000 today, but in 20 years, that won't buy what it does now. Consider an inflation rider that increases your coverage 3% annually. It added $8 to our premium, but it meant Ava's future was truly protected. We also learned about policy features we didn't know existed, grace periods. If we were late on payment, we had 60 days before the policy lapsed. It gave us breathing room. Waiver of premium. If I became disabled, the insurance company would pay my premiums, so the policy stayed active. These weren't tricks. They were safeguards built into good policies, and we made sure we had them. 14 months after that terrible night when everything broke, our car broke down, the transmission died, $20,800 to fix. Old Patricia would have panicked, would have fought with John. I would have put it on a credit card and prayed, but we had an emergency fund. We had $7,200 saved by then. We paid cash for the repair, and we still had $4,400 left. Driving home from the repair shop, John reached over and took my hand. "We did it," he said quietly. "What did?" "We survived. We're actually going to be okay." Tears ran down my face, because he was right. We'd gone from drowning to treading water to actually swimming. We still weren't wealthy. We still had to budget carefully. We still said no to things we wanted, but we weren't desperate anymore. We weren't one emergency away from losing everything. That night, Ava asked if she could have friends over for her birthday party. "Of course," I said. "What do you want to do?" "Can we go to the Children's Museum and have cake?" I did the math in my head. Museum tickets, cake, pizza, maybe $150 total. A year ago, I would have said no. Now, I have said yes. Because we'd created room in our lives for joy again. One evening, Ava's school assigned a project, interviewing a family member about a time they overcame a challenge. She chose me. "Mom, what's the hardest thing you've ever gone through?" I thought for a moment. "When Daddy lost his job and we didn't have enough money." "What did you do?" "We made a plan. We stopped spending money we didn't have. We worked together instead of fighting, and we learned to protect ourselves better for the future." "Was it scary?" "Very scary, baby. But you didn't give up." "No, we didn't give up." She wrote it all down in her careful handwriting. That project is on our fridge now, a reminder. John and I also made our own reminders. We keep our budget spreadsheet updated every week, not because we have to, but because it keeps us honest. We review our insurance policies every year, make sure we're still protected. We talk about money openly now, no secrets, no shame, and we teach Ava about it too. She has a savings jar in her room, When she gets birthday money, half goes in the jar. Why do I have to save? She asked once. Because someday you might need that money, I told her, and you'll be so glad you have it. She nodded seriously, like when the car broke. Exactly like that. She's learning lessons, and we had to learn the hard way, and I'm grateful for that. 2 years after our crisis, John and I went on our first real date night since everything fell apart. We dropped Ava at my sister's house and went to a small Italian restaurant in Berkeley. Nothing fancy. We still budget carefully, but sitting across from each other, sharing pasta and wine, laughing about something silly Ava had said, it felt like dating again. You know what I realized? John said. What? I fell in love with you twice. Once when we were 22, and again when we were broken and desperate and had to choose whether to give up or fight. I reached across the table and took his hand. The second time was harder, I said, and more important. We sat there for a moment, just holding hands. The truth is that our marriage almost didn't survive. Money problems are the #1 cause of divorce in America. We could have become another statistic, but we didn't. Not because we were special, not because we were lucky, but because we finally learned to do 3 things. 1. Communicate honestly about money, fear, and shame. 2. Make decisions together instead of hiding and controlling. 3. Protect what matters with planning and patience. Those 3 things saved us, and they transformed our marriage from something that was slowly dying into something stronger than it had ever been. People sometimes ask me, how did you do it? How did you go from almost losing everything to being stable? And I will tell them the truth. It wasn't a big decision. It was 1,000 small ones. It was choosing to face reality instead of hiding from it. It was accepting help instead of pretending we had it all together. It was protecting our future even when it meant sacrificing our present. It was refusing to take shortcuts that would trap us deeper. It was remembering that our love was more valuable than our pride. I also tell them what we learned about financial protection, the things no one teaches you when you're young and broke and desperate. Health insurance isn't optional. Medical debt destroys more American families than any other kind. We pay $240 a month for coverage. It's tight, but it's necessary. Life insurance is love. If something happens to me, John and Ava get $250,000. It means they can grieve without also drowning financially. That costs me $35 a month. Cheapest peace of mind I've ever bought. Disability insurance protects your income. If I can't work, 60% of my salary still comes in. That's the difference between struggling and collapsing. $80 a month. Emergency funds save marriages. When the car broke down and we could pay cash instead of fighting about credit cards, that was the moment we knew we'd made it. We save $500 a month now. It's not easy, but it's essential. Insurance features matter. Grace periods give you breathing room. Inflation riders keep your coverage relevant. Waiver of premium clauses protect you when you're most vulnerable. Read the fine print. Ask questions. Understand what you're buying. Planning beats panic every time. Having a written budget, tracking expenses, knowing exactly where every dollar goes, it removes the fear because you're in control. These aren't exciting lessons. They're not get-rich-quick schemes. They're boring, practical, and unglamorous wisdom, but they work, and they saved my family. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine what I would tell Patricia from 3 years ago, the one who was drowning and didn't know how to ask for help. I would tell her, your worth isn't measured by your bank account. You're not a failure because you're struggling. Most Americans are one emergency away from crisis. You're not alone. Pride will kill you faster than poverty. Ask for help. Accept. Help. Use the resources available. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Your marriage is worth more than your ego. When you're both drowning, you can't save each other by refusing to admit you're drowning. Honesty is the only life raft. Your daughter is watching. not just watching whether you have money, watching how you handle not having money. Teach her resilience, honesty, and patience. Those lessons will serve her longer than any amount of cash. Protect yourself before you're desperate. Insurance feels expensive when you're broke, but catastrophe is infinitely more expensive. Pay for protection now or pay for devastation later. Small decisions compound. Every dollar you don't spend on impulse. Every automatic transfer to savings. Every bill paid on time. They add up. They become the foundation that holds you up when everything shakes. There are no shortcuts. The payday loans, the get-rich-quick schemes, the desperate gambling, they all make things worse. Slow, boring, disciplined. Progress is the only way out. And finally, you will survive this. It won't be easy. It won't be fast. But if you hold on to each other, if you face reality instead of hiding from it, if you make wise choices even when they're hard choices, you will survive, and you'll be stronger for it. So here's what I want you to understand. Money didn't just leave us broke. It broke our marriage, our trust, our hope. It made us question everything we'd built together. But money also taught us something we never would have learned in comfort. Love isn't automatic. It's chosen, every day, especially on hard days. When we were drowning, we had to actively decide to save each other instead of saving ourselves. We had to choose honesty over pride. We had to choose planning over panic. We had to choose partnership over independence. And those choices, made in desperation, made in crisis, made when it would have been so much easier to give up, those choices rebuild our marriage into something unbreakable. Today, we're not wealthy. We still budget carefully. We still say no to things we want. We still work hard, but we're secure. We have $12,000 in emergency savings. We have insurance protecting us from catastrophe. We have zero debt. We have a marriage built on honesty and respect. We have a daughter who's learning wisdom we wish we'd learned younger. And we have something more valuable than any amount of money. We have each other, not because we had to stay together, but because we chose to. Every single day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. I've told you my story, the whole ugly, desperate, painful truth of it. Now I want to hear yours. Have you been where I was? Fighting with someone you love because money makes you both feel like failures? Have you hidden debt from your spouse? Do you make desperate financial decisions you regret? Have you felt the weight of trying to provide while everything crumbles around you? Or maybe you're there right now, reading this while sitting at your own kitchen table at 2 a.m., surrounded by bills you can't pay, wondering how you got here and how you'll ever get out. If that's you, I want you to know, you're not alone. This isn't your fault, and there is a way forward. It won't be fast, it won't be easy, but it's possible. Leave a comment below. Tell me where you are on your journey. Are you in crisis? Are you climbing out? Have you made it to the other side? Let's support each other. Because this is too hard to face alone. And if this story helped you, if it gave you hope or wisdom or just made you feel less alone, please share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there is a woman sitting at her kitchen table right now, crying over bills she can't pay, wondering if her marriage can survive. And she needs to know it can, not easily, but truly. If you want more stories like this, real, honest, hard-earned wisdom from women who've survived crisis and come out stronger, please subscribe to this channel. I don't sell fantasies. I don't promise overnight success. I share truth, the kind of truth that helps when nothing else can, the kind of wisdom that comes from surviving, not just from studying, because we need each other's stories. We need to know we're not alone in the struggle, and we need to remember, when money tests love, wisdom can save it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for trusting me with your time, and thank you for being part of this community of survivors. We're stronger together.